My parents said, "The greatest gift for your sister's wedding is if you disappear from our family forever." My name is Elena Carter, 27, and that sentence cracked through me like glass shattering in a quiet room. I didn't scream. I didn't even ask why. Instead, I felt the keys in my pocket pressing against my palm, metal biting flesh, reminding me I wasn't powerless. I packed my things in silence, each zipper closing like a final punctuation mark. The living room was dim, only the flicker of the wedding invitation on the mantel catching the light. My mother avoided my eyes. My father cleared his throat like he was rehearsing guilt but never speaking it. And my sister? She smiled faintly as if banishing me was the dress rehearsal for her big day. "Don't forget your perfume," she said. "You still wear that." The words stung more than the command to disappear. I almost laughed at how small cruelty could be, wrapped in family voices dressed as tradition. The door closed behind me, but the silence on the other side was louder than any slam. Outside, the air was cold and sharp, and for the first time I breathed without permission. Have you ever had family cross your boundaries so brutally it felt like exile in your own home? Let me know in the comments. Because that night, as the key turned in the lock, I realized exile wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my story. The apartment felt different in the dark, like it already knew it was no longer mine. Shadows stretched long across the floor, swallowing the furniture I'd bought piece by piece when I still believed this family was worth building a life around. I placed my suitcase by the door and ran my hand over the coffee table, remembering the first meal I'd cooked for them here. My father had said, "Not bad for someone who never listens." My mother laughed. My sister rolled her eyes. Back then I thought it was just family banter. Now I could hear the contempt threaded inside every word. On the kitchen counter sat a photograph in a silver frame. Me and my sister as kids in matching dresses holding melting popsicles. Our smiles were wide, teeth uneven. I picked it up and for a moment I almost softened. But then I saw the corner of the frame, cracked from when she'd thrown it during a fight last year. A reminder that even memories here were fractured. The keys dug deeper into my fist. They weren't just metal, they were leverage. Proof that I wasn't just walking away empty-handed. As dawn crept in through the blinds, I made a decision. They wanted me gone? Fine. But they wouldn't get to keep the life I had quietly built and funded while they drained me dry. The sun rose, painting the walls gold. A new day, and I was no longer their obedient daughter. By mid-morning, I was sitting across from a lawyer whose office smelled faintly of old books and bitter coffee. His pen tapped against the file I'd handed him. "You're listed as co-owner on the apartment, correct?" he asked without looking up. "Yes." My voice was steady, though my hands trembled inside my sleeves. He nodded. "And the joint account? Your name appears first." A flicker of relief crossed my chest. For years, my parents had framed it as their generosity, letting me contribute, so you'll learn responsibility. They never realized the signatures, the paperwork, the fine print had all tied me to the assets as much as them. I leaned back, the cracked photo of me and my sister still tucked in my bag. It felt like the motif of my life now. Something once sweet, now fractured, sharp enough to cut if you held it wrong. "Proceed," I said. The lawyer raised a brow. "You're sure?" I met his eyes. "They asked me to disappear. Consider this my farewell gift." Walking out of his office, the city felt alive around me. Horns blaring, vendors shouting, sunlight bouncing off windows. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't shrinking under their expectations. I was expanding into my own skin. My phone buzzed with a message from my sister. "Don't cause drama. It's my week, not yours." I smiled. She had no idea what was already in motion. By evening, I stood outside the apartment building, the keys warm in my pocket. The lobby smelled of polished marble and lilies from the concierge desk. People passed me carrying groceries, holding children's hands, living ordinary lives. I envied them for a second, lives not poisoned by betrayal. Upstairs, the place was eerily silent. My parents hadn't returned yet. The wedding rehearsal dinner would keep them busy. I flicked on the lights and walked room to room, every corner whispering with ghosts of arguments, dismissals, subtle digs. The joint account was already frozen. My lawyer had sent the confirmation. My phone pinged with the alert. Balances locked, access denied. For once I held the power. I opened my sister's old drawer in the guest room. Inside, scattered hairpins, a dried bouquet, scraps of letters. At the bottom lay a folded note in my handwriting, words from a younger me. One day you'll be proud of me. I stared at it until the words blurred. Pride was something I'd begged for like sunlight through a locked window. Not anymore. A knock jolted me. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, my aunt clutching a purse too tightly. Her eyes darted as if she carried secrets. "Elena," she whispered when I opened the door. "I shouldn't be here. But you need to know, they're planning to cut you out of everything. The wedding isn't just about her. It's about erasing you." Her words were gasoline. My silence was the spark. My aunt's voice trembled as she stepped inside, shutting the door quickly behind her. She perched on the edge of the sofa, twisting her purse strap until the leather creaked. "They've been talking for weeks," she said. "Your parents, your sister. About how you're a burden. About how this wedding is the perfect excuse to tidy you out of the picture." "Tidy me?" I repeated, a bitter laugh slipping out. She winced. "Those were your mother's words." The air thickened, humming like an unspoken verdict. I stared at the photo still on the counter. Me and my sister, popsicles melting down our hands. I wanted to smash it, but instead I placed it face down. The cracked glass pressed against the wood, hidden but not healed. "Why tell me this now?" I asked. Her eyes softened. "Because I've watched them drain you. Your savings, your energy, your dignity. And I can't sit in that pew tomorrow, smiling at a wedding built on your erasure." I felt heat rise in my chest, a storm colliding with calm calculation. "They want me gone. Fine. But they'll feel what gone really means." I pulled the keys from my pocket and dangled them, the metal catching the light. "Tonight, the apartment goes on the market. Tomorrow, while she walks down the aisle in lace, I'll walk away with everything they never thought I'd claim." My aunt leaned back, startled but silent. In the quiet, I realized, revenge didn't need noise. It needed timing. The realtor's office smelled of ink and fresh paint. Papers lay spread before me, each one a quiet declaration of independence. "Given your co-ownership," the realtor explained, "you have every right to sell. The market's hot, you'll have offers within hours." I signed where she pointed. The pen glided smoothly, but my heart pounded as if each stroke carved history. My parents thought banishment meant silence. Instead, it meant leverage. When I left the office, my phone lit with messages. My mother, "Remember, don't come tomorrow. Don't embarrass us." My sister, "Don't be dramatic. Just stay gone." Each word was fuel steadying my resolve. I typed nothing back. Silence was my reply. That night, I returned to the apartment for the last time. The walls seemed to lean in as if listening. I placed the cracked photo in the center of the coffee table and stared at it. A symbol of what was, of everything broken. I didn't smash it. I didn't take it. I left it there like a relic they could never polish into perfection. As I turned the lock one final time, the metal clicked with a note of finality. Outside, the city pulsed with life, headlights streaming, laughter spilling from restaurants, a saxophone wailing faintly in the distance. I wasn't leaving with nothing. I was leaving with freedom. And tomorrow, while vows were exchanged in a church dripping with flowers, the ground beneath their perfect picture would quietly shift. They had asked for absence. I was giving them consequence. The wedding morning dawned bright and brittle. Bells rang from the church across town, and social media lit up with glossy photos of my sister in silk, pearls, and perfection. Hashtags spun like spiderwebs. Hashtag fairytale bride. Hashtag family forever. Meanwhile, I sat in a quiet cafe, a black coffee cooling between my hands. My phone buzzed, not with wedding updates but with emails. Offers for the apartment. 3 within hours. Higher than expected. Each one proof that I wasn't just walking away, I was walking ahead. Another alert. Confirmation from the bank. The joint account was sealed. No withdrawals, no hidden transfers, no wedding splurges. I imagined my mother reaching for her card at some boutique counter, only to see, transaction declined. A silent guest at her perfect day. My absence, my decision. I scrolled again. A message from an unknown number. "They're furious. Call me." I knew it was my aunt. I didn't call back. Fury was the least they deserved. Instead, I drafted a single post. Not angry, not loud. Just a photo of a key lying on a table, the caption, "Sometimes, leaving is the greatest gift you can give." I hit upload. Within minutes, comments poured in. Strangers, allies, voices echoing what I'd felt alone for years. Same. Proud of you. Blood doesn't make family. For the first time I realized, revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about clarity. And clarity had never felt so sharp, so clean. That evening, when the wedding ended and the photographs were staged into albums of false smiles, I returned, not to them but to myself. The apartment sale was already in motion. By the week's end the funds would be mine alone. My lawyer promised discretion. My parents wouldn't know until the ink dried. The joint account, once their lifeline for control, was beyond their reach. They had called me a burden. Now they carried the weight of their own choices. Aunt Clara called late, her voice hushed. They're saying you've ruined the family. I let the words settle, then answered softly, no. I just stopped letting them ruin me. In the silence I felt something loosen in my chest. Years of apology, of waiting for validation that never came. Gone. The cracked photo, the one I'd left behind, lingered in my mind. A symbol. Once it had meant hope. Then fracture. Now leaving it there was my final gift. A reminder they couldn't erase me no matter how hard they tried. I poured myself a glass of water, the simplest ritual, and sat by the window. Outside, the city glowed, endless and indifferent. But within that indifference I found peace. My phone buzzed with a final message from my sister. You'll regret this. I set it down without reply. For once I wasn't reacting. I was living. Because revenge wasn't chaos. It was clarity, accountability, and finally freedom.